It's either like writers are not
It's
wanting to, or if it's like the comic book company's like, no, we don't want to change the character that much.
Well, dude. Really, what it is it's editorial. That's literally like an editorial edict with Spider-Man. They're the ones who wanted to they forced like a really good writer who actually had a great Spider-Man run, but that's all he's remembered for is like the One More Day shit where he had to sacrifice his marriage to Mephisto, essentially.
Yeah.
That's all he's remembered for. But all the shit he did before that was fucking awesome. And it wasn't his fault. Editorial basically like, no, we're making him single whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
And but like we're gonna get into with these articles, like the upside and the downside of public domain. Hold on, let me get to the thing.
Yeah.
Like the upside and the downside of public domain. That's the thing with editorial. Sometimes editorial is right. Like there's certain things you shouldn't do. And sometimes they're fucking wrong. Like, you know, they play it too. And most of the time nowadays they're wrong. They play it too safe with Spider-Man. But like I was reading one thing, and I wish I'd put the article, but there was like there's been like 2 characters that have been made as stand-ins kind of for Constantine, because there have been like people that were writing for other books that wanted to use Constantine. Like, and I can't remember. Like one was for. What's that show that got big with like Robot Man and all that? Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
They created a different character because they wanted to use Constantine for some shit, and they created a different character as like the magic stand-in guy. And there was a guy who got mad and he couldn't make so he made like a shitty parody of Constantine almost to use. But the reason editorial didn't want people to use Constantine is because Constantine's book is more grounded and he doesn't hardly interact with superheroes except for like Swamp Thing and Etrigan and like some of the more magic based stuff, but they didn't really want him running around with superheroes because they thought it would fuck with like the tone of the book. And guess what? They're fucking right, because when they fucking finally did like let him be all some of it's good, but when they let him be all over like the superhero shit, it wasn't as good. It did water it down. They were correct in their assumption that would fucking happen, because it has, because now they allow it, and it's ass. 90% of the time. Like,
well, we're not ass here on the Horse Lick Review.
Oh, are we actually into it now?
Yeah, I've been recording. This is episode 9.
All right, whatever. So there's gonna be 10 minutes of me real like.
Nah, it's like 2 minutes. Yeah. It's like that's the intro, bro. So episode 9, Horse Lick Review. Nathan and Jake here.
I didn't consent to being recorded.
It's okay. I wanted to catch it all. Organic.
But.
So, let's get started. You want to go first? You want me to start? I don't care.
You go ahead and start, man.
Okay. Well, my first, I have I have a few. Not a ton today. I couldn't find any really entertaining stuff this week. Like, there's a lot of stuff still coming up from like our last, which has been a couple of weeks now, right? But,
yeah.
My first one is it comes from the Independent, a UK-based site. But I just thought this was funny. The headline is "Campaign to Change the Name of Fire Ants to Spicy Boys Gathers Space." It's been a big week for petitions, it says. First one calling for a second referendum on the UK's membership of the EU attracted 4.1 million signatures. And now another is going viral on a similarly important topic. The rechristening of fire ants to their rightful name of Spicy Boys.
Wait, before we get into this extremely important thing, does that mean like they're actually trying to undo Brexit now? They're trying to get back with the EU? Because I hadn't heard that.
There's apparently a petition.
Well, because
I know got 4.1 million signatures.
Yeah, I know that caused like a lot of problems because I think Scotland was. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Scotland was really mad about it, about like leaving the EU, and maybe Northern Ireland was mad about it. I know like Ireland. I'm pretty sure Ireland was under like a lot of austerity measures, and they eventually like worked their way out of it. But that's Ireland, not Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Let's get into the important stuff. Spicy Boys.
Yeah. It says, Okay, it's 2016. There are 36 genders. Beyblade might be a new Olympic sport. Why aren't we calling fire ants spicy boys? The Change.org petition asks. Okay, targeted at the First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama, the petition has, at the time of writing, brought it over 16,000 signees, with musicians and reporters around the world backing the campaign.
Wait, whoa. Go back up. When was this written? Because did they just call it Michelle Obama?
This is old.
Yeah, this is very old.
Why is this coming up?
All right, we still need to cover it, but apparently it failed.
Yeah,
because Michelle Obama was still the first lady.
Yeah, like that's why when I started reading this sentence, I was like, this paragraph, I was like, 2016. It's like, did they start this in 2016?
Oh, so this was before Brexit. This was about them trying to leave. So because the petition was about them starting Brexit.
This is crazy. Why is this an article that came up in searches for
because they
news
figured
this week?
Because the algorithm said you'd click on it.
I guess so. Well, now I feel
no. Keep going though, man. Let's see what
I feel bad.
Let's see what happened.
Let's see. I'm sure it's still fire ant is the common name for several species of ants in the genus, though they also go by red ants, ginger ants.
Yeah.
It's time we put an end to this confusion and all agree on the superior name, which I guess is to these people is spicy boys. I think this was obviously a troll.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get through here and let's see. You know what's sad about this is
that's all they say.
It has taken far too long for this issue to be dragged into the public eye. One signee had commented, "The time for this fire, any nonsense to stop has come."
This fire what?
What? The time for this fire? That doesn't make any sense. Let's all just agree that spicy boys are called spicy boys and move on. So, even if this is an old article, I find it hilarious that people had started a petition to call the fire ants spicy boys. And I feel like everybody should have jumped on board, obviously.
I didn't know about it till just now. I mean,
yeah.
So the campaign didn't go viral, I guess.
Yeah.
But aren't fire ants usually called fire ants because they can bite you and it hurts?
Yeah, it burns like fire.
Yeah. But they're also red. Okay, I lived in Florida for a little bit. You know, their black ants actually can bite you and it hurts.
Yeah,
and they're like that's essentially they're aggressive too. Like I've never been bit.
What is the one in South America? I think it is that are like.
Oh, are you talking about the Australian one though? That's like super poisonous and like I don't think it's the bullet ant.
Well, there's the one. Bullet ants are black, right?
I don't.
Are those the ones that the tribe use? The coming of age. Oh, and they put like young boys put their hands in that glove, and they have all these driver ants, or I think it's driver ants. I'm not sure, but yeah, and they let them sting them or bite them or whatever they do.
Yeah.
And they have to keep it on. It's like a coming of age manhood thing. I don't know exactly, but those are a type of black ant. But yeah, I mean, unless they taste spicy.
Yeah. Do you ever think
if you eat them and they taste like little jalapenos?
Do you think you can cut a deal with the tribe and be like, what if I don't put the glove on and I just put one on one of my testicles? Is that good enough?
You remember that show? There was the dude that had the show Going Tribal, wasn't it called?
Maybe there's several shows.
He went and stayed
Yeah.
with different tribes. I think he might have done that ritual with them.
That's cool. Well, dude, and also, not to be like a gross child, but I was a gross child. Ants usually, from my experience, because I ate a few ants, they usually taste like sugar because they've been in sugar.
What'd you eat, piss ants? Or did you eat big ants, like big black ants?
Whatever I found, because I was like, whatever.
Piss ants wouldn't be much. I mean, you probably wouldn't even taste them.
Nah, I think they were bigger black ants. But anyway, also was bit by Floridian ants more than I've ever been bit by. Never been bit by a damn red fire ant, ever. I've been bit by a shit ton of black ants in Florida.
Yeah. Well, what's your first?
I'll let you pick, man. Do you want to go? Hey, fuck. You want to go with time travel paradox, the Icelandic fault line.
Give me
or
this.
Billy
I want to hear more about this Icelandic fault line. Fill us in.
Let's see. It comes from sciencealert.com.
Since I just shared an 8-year-old, article.
This is from the 17th of January, but experts confirm Icelandic fault line has awakened after 800 years. So it was dormant for 800 years, which is, let's see, 800 years. Yeah, that would be before, like, the founding of Iceland by, fucking the Norse.
Yeah.
A volcanic eruption that has engulfed homes in an Iceland.
Way before Bjork.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Bjork caused it. This is some really it's an ad campaign for a new album or something. Icelandic fire. A volcanic eruption that has engulfed homes in an Icelandic fishing port confirms that a long dormant fault line running under the country has woken up, threatening to belch lava out with little warning for years to come, an expert warned on Tuesday. Glowing lava swallowed several homes on Sunday at the edge of the town of Grindavik, southwest of the capital of Reykjavik. The fishing town was mostly evacuated due to threat of an eruption last month, and the most recent volcanic activity has since eased, authorities in the North Atlantic nation said on Monday. The island straddles the mid-Atlantic ridge, a crack in the ocean floor separating the Eurasian and North American tectonic plates. Sunday's eruption was the fifth in fewer than 3 years on the Reykjanes Peninsula, which had not previously seen one in centuries. Quote, after 8 centuries of a relative break and complete cessation of surface activity, we have entered a new episode of plate separation, which could last several years, possibly decades. End quote. Volcanologist Patrick Allard from France's Institut de Physique du Globe de Paris told AFP. Even before the first of the 5 eruptions on March 2021, scientists saw the ground distorting with magma rising from the depths and seeping into an area 3 to 10 kilometers or 2 to 6 miles below the surface, he said. As that magma bubbled its way upwards through fissures in the earth, eruptions started to occur. Ready to erupt. The 2 most recent eruptions last month and on Sunday, both threatening Grindavik, were brief and preceded by very little seismic activity. This shows that the magma is very close to the surface and ready to erupt, Allard said. And that's pretty much what's going on. We don't have to read the rest of this, but there's a risk that this could keep happening for years to come. They don't know how long it'll be active or if it'll go inactive. And I did see another article, which I'm not going to read here, but because of like the quick loss of homes, there's they've been struggling to house some of the people because they've lost their homes all of a sudden. And this whole town, like, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they have to just move the town, like build a town elsewhere because it's too close to the fault line. Like, at any point, this could erupt and cause problems. I do also remember, and I'd read this years ago in like a travel magazine, I don't know if it's the same hotel, but there was a hot springs that was really good for eczema. Like, people would travel from all over and it would kind of like ease their eczema on their body. Mm-hmm. Because, like, I don't know what it did, but essentially bathing in that sort of helped with that condition. But there is like a natural hot springs that was very popular that had to be closed down because it's too close to this fault line as well. I don't know if it was in the town or not, but I think it was in a town that was not too far from Reykjavik. But yeah, that's I know I made light of it a little bit with the Bjork thing, but I do feel bad because Iceland's really cool. They've had a lot of problems over the last 20 years. Yeah. Financial issues. They did sort of rectify that and done what a lot of us should do and essentially jailed the corrupt bankers. And that sort of fixed a lot of their issues, because I know at one point, I believe they were going to sell the country to Russia or something. But it had gotten that bad. They're like, actually, I think they possibly were going to just sell the country, which I don't even know how that works.
I mean, yeah, just letting the government, you just kind of assimilate, I guess.
I don't know how that would have worked. I guess, you probably just would have been absorbed into a larger country as like a territory, like a Puerto Rico to the United States or something.
Yeah.
No clue, but feel bad for Iceland, and I wish the people that lost their homes well.
Yeah, and I hope this doesn't like erupt like huge eruption and just destroy.
From what I hear, I don't think it will ever be like. I don't think it'll be. They haven't. Haven't seen anything, at least in the articles that I've seen, that indicate that it would destroy the country.
Yeah,
but that one area is just you wouldn't want to live there,
right? All right, my next one is from AP News, and it's actually current. It was posted yesterday, so this one's not several years old. Kansas couple charged with collecting man's retirement while keeping his body in their home for 6 years.
All right.
Yeah, so in Overland Park, Kansas, couple's been charged with fraudulently collecting more than $215,000 in retirement benefits on the behalf of their dead relative while they concealed his body inside their home for 6 years.
All right, before you go on. So that seems like a lot of extra steps for this financial fraud. Couldn't they have just literally buried this guy in their backyard or put him in some sort of like sarcophagus or something? Like it seems like that's a whole lot of smell you got to deal with. And I'm not saying they should have commit the fraud, but if you're going to do that, you could do it a lot more cleanly.
Well, people are fucking dumb.
Yeah.
And
were they trying to like whip him out for like Weekend and Bernie style hijinks in case somebody came looking around like, "Hey, Bob, are you still retired?"
Got him on some sticks and like,
yeah.
I don't know, but says authorities say Mike Carroll's pacemaker showed that he died in 2016.
Yeah.
Same time that article was about the ants came out. Age 81, but Overland Park police didn't discover his body until 2022 after his son-in-law, Kirk Ritter, called police to report his death in the Kansas City suburb. Prosecutors say Lynn Ritter and Kirk Ritter, both 61, continued depositing and spending from Carroll's bank account even while his body became mummified on a bed in the home he owned.
So they left him on a bed. They just like, this was like, just don't go on that.
Well, yeah,
this is like the corpse stink room.
This is like a similar story, and I'll just like, this will be an extra story kind of segued from this, but it's like that story. You hear about the two parents in that small town? I can't remember where it was now. Here in the States somewhere.
Yeah. But
like their daughter apparently had been on the couch for like 8 years.
Okay.
And she finally died. They were like a big part of this small community, and I guess like neighbors had said they just thought she had, because they'd seen her like in the community when she was a teenager, and they thought she had just grown up and like moved off to college or moved off somewhere else, and she'd been on the couch for like 8 years, sitting in her own like shit and piss, and like so much so that the couch had disintegrated under her, and she finally died, and she had like fused to the couch.
And they just let that happen.
Yeah, she was alive like
for 8 years, and then
maybe even longer than that. But like, yeah, it was fucking weird, man. They're being like prosecuted, obviously. They would been.
How old was their daughter when?
She was in her. I think she was in her 30s. It might have been like 12 years. I'd have to go back and find the article about it, and I've actually listened to somebody report on it a couple weeks ago. But like, yeah, it's like, just like with this situation, it's like, obviously they were just wanting to continue to use his money.
Yeah.
And not report him dying.
No, I get that.
But
did you say who finally reported him dead? It wasn't the people perpetrating the shit. And why did it take that guy? So why did it take?
It was. It was his son-in-law.
Yeah, but why did it take him so long to realize that? I
guess he was finally like, maybe we should report he's dead. We got this mummy laying over in the bed.
Oh, so wait, it was the people who were. It
was Kirk Ritter, his son-in-law, called police.
So they turned themselves. Gee, and they don't think a coroner's going to look at it. They don't think a coroner's going to look at it and figure out he's been dead for that long.
The stupidity of people and ignorance of people continues to blow my mind each day.
Like, okay, let me ask you this. So you get a free house, Nathan. And it's one of these three houses. It's either the one where they allowed a guy to mummify on a bed. It's either the one where it's either the one where a lady fused to a couch and died in her own shit and piss, or it's one that somebody cooked meth in. Which one are you taking?
Yeah, here it is. I don't know. I'd probably take the mummy one.
I'm taking the meth house. Like, whatever. It's fucked up the bones a little bit. I'm not going with it's either the mummy or the meth house, but I'm not taking the one with the shit and piss.
We'll go ahead and go into this one. Like, the parents of Louisiana woman who was allegedly left, this is on the Independent,
Yeah.
to rot away, in quotes, on their sofa. What is this site doing? Okay. Was allegedly left to rot away on their sofa in her own waste for up to 12 years, have been charged with second-degree murder. Clay and Sheila Fletcher were arrested and indicted on. And 4 months after their 36-year-old daughter, Lacey's emaciated body was found fused to the couch at their home in the town of Slaughter, Louisiana. She weighed 96 pounds, was covered in urine, feces, and maggots.
Dude.
She had wounds from sitting... Yeah, this too, I remember this. Wounds from sitting in her excrement and urine. And maggots were like eating... That's probably the only reason she lasted, is that, you know how maggots will be used for infection?
Yeah.
They were probably eating her infected flesh.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and like, there's also reports of, like, cleaning products.
Yeah.
And like, a toilet type, like a portable toilet, sitting over kind of to the side, a little bit away from the couch. And a lot of people assuming they were using it as torture tactics. Like teasing her, like, you could be clean. You could be taking a shit or a piss over here. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people thought it was like, could have been her suffering from, it's like this weird thing where people go into a catatonic state.
Oh, okay.
And like, or they're like, they look like they're in a coma, but they can hear everybody who's been in it and came out of this state. I can't remember what it's called right now.
Yeah, that's a catatonic state, man. Like,
yeah, but it's called something. It has a specific name because they can hear.
Well, yeah, a lot of
everything and see everything. If their eyes are able to open their eyes, they can see and hear everything going on, but there's no way to communicate.
I think a lot of people can do that in a catatonic state, though.
Yeah, it's like a specific name, but it's not like the same thing as what I'm saying. It's like a coma and you're just like asleep.
Yeah, it's like the weird grandpa from Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah, but like some people think she might have went into that state, and they were just like, I don't know. It's just a weird situation. But yeah.
Well, dude, first, the other thing is, too, is like, even if you're a piece of shit and you are torturing your daughter,
there's a couch if you want to see it.
Yeah, but how do you live with the fucking smell, dude? Like, they're living in Louisiana. It doesn't get cold, dude. It's just hot and humid.
Yeah.
That's just hot shit, hot piss.
Yeah, it's I don't even know. I don't even know what else to say. What else you got?
I guess I'll go a little lighter this time. It's like, physicist discovers paradox-free time travel is theoretically possible. So no one has yet managed to travel through time, at least to our knowledge, but the question of whether or not such a feat would be theoretically possible continues to fascinate scientists. As movies such as The Terminator, Donnie Darko, Back to the Future, and many others show, moving around in time creates a lot of problems for the fundamental rules of the universe. If you go back in time and stop your parents from meeting, for instance, how can you possibly exist in order to go back in time in the first place? It's a monumental head-scratcher known as the grandfather paradox. But a few years ago, physics student Germaine Tobar from the University of Queensland, Australia, worked out how to square the numbers to make time travel viable without the paradoxes. Classical dynamics says if you know the state of a system at a particular time, this can tell us the entire history of the system, Tobar explained back in 2020. However, Einstein's theory of general relativity predicts the existence of time loops or time travel, where an event can both be in the past and future of itself, theoretically turning the study of dynamics on its head. What the calculations show is that space-time can potentially adapt itself to avoid paradoxes. To use a tropical example, imagine a time traveler journeying into the past to stop a disease from spreading. If the mission was successful, the time traveler would have no disease to go back in time to defeat. Tobar said tropical example. I guess that meant topical. I swear it had an R in it. Tobar's work suggested that the disease would still escape some other way, through a different route or by a different method, removing the paradox. Whatever the time traveler did, the disease wouldn't be stopped. Tobar's work isn't easy for non-mathematicians to dig into, but it looks at the influence of deterministic processes without any randomness or an arbitrary number of regions in the space-time continuum, and demonstrates how both closed time curves, as predicted by Einstein, can fit in the rules of free will in classical physics. The maths check out, and the results are the stuff of science fiction, said physicist Fabio Costa from the University of Queensland, who supervised the research. Which, I mean, that's pretty much it. There's a little bit more. Check out sciencealert.com for that. But, I mean, I guess he mathematically proved that that's possible. But at the same time, if you think about it, that's been posited in science fiction and certain things. Like, there's been, like, the classic going back in time to kill Hitler. You know, like, somebody else still rises and causes World War II and the Holocaust.
Yeah, well, like, isn't that what that story, All You Need Is Kill? It was a manga, I think.
Okay.
But they made what was the movie called? They made a movie out of it with Tom Cruise, and they changed the name.
Oh, is that the thing where he keeps coming back?
Yeah, they're in that war or whatever.
Yeah.
And anytime he dies, he just wakes up, and it's almost like Groundhog Day with, like...
But war.
Yeah.
No, yeah, like, I've heard that, man, and where, again, you couldn't stop something from happening. But again, I get some of the stuff, like I said, so you try to kill Hitler, but a new Hitler or maybe even somebody from the Hitler family becomes the new, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Becomes the new Hitler. But also, wouldn't the paradox kind of fix it? I guess, well, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how the paradox of you stopping your parents from meeting would fix itself. Like, I guess you never would have gone back in time to do it to begin with, so, you know, that would happen. But also, like, you know what's weird? Like, my dad was talking to me about this one time, and I was like, it's weird that people talk about, like, would you go back in time and kill baby Hitler? You know, it's like, why do you want to go back in time and kill a baby? He's innocent at that moment. Why don't you know what would be more humane? Go back in time and bribe the guy to let him into art school so it doesn't fucking happen. Yeah. It's just like, just give the dude some money, and then instead of being a piece of shit, he's an artist.
He's just a shitty one.
Yeah.
No, I've never actually looked at any of his art.
Yeah. Well, no, you probably have without knowing it, because I've heard that a lot of his stuff has made it into greeting cards. Because he did, like, a lot of, like, buildings and landscapes or something, supposedly. And a lot of stuff has been used without people's knowledge that it's in like, greeting cards.
I think it was an episode of that show, Justified.
Oh, yeah, with Robert Picardo as the guy who was...
Yeah, he's, like, collector. He's a collector of art, and he's collecting all of Hitler's art, and they think he's fucking weird because he wants all... But he's destroying it. Yeah,
because his dad was, like, a piece of shit that had immigrated over after the Holocaust, and he was, like, part of the SS.
Yeah.
He fucking hated his dad because of that, and, like, he's got all the jars of Hitler's burnt paintings and shit. That's fucking awesome.
My next one is from Reuters.com, and I like this one because I have a problem with people doing this all the time. And it's dog DNA detectives trace owners not scooping the poop in Italian province.
Dog shit detective.
Rome, January 17th. An Italian province is turning to DNA tests to tackle the scourge of dog mess on the streets. Once a dog DNA registration database is up and running, street cleaners and health officials in Bolzano will be able to collect abandoned poop, have it genetically tested, and then trace the owners, who will face fines of 50 to 500 euros. Only any owner who refuses the DNA profiling for their dog will face fines of 219 to 1,048 euros. The provincial government covering Bolzano city and surrounding towns in the picturesque Dolomite region is creating the database for almost 40,000 dogs in the area. The veterinary department director Paolo Zamboto said about 10,000 have already been registered. So it says Balzano received a few hundred complaints a year from citizens about improper management of public land. More than half are for dogs. So they need to do that around here because motherfuckers keep letting their dogs drop these giant loads in our front yard all the time when they're walking by.
Dude, I want to see now though, like a Law and Order style, but in Italy, like Law and Order, like animal waste detectives. And it was like the men and women of the dog shit department investigate, especially
the DSD,
especially heinous turds. These brave, this is just like somebody like Giuseppe and Mario, the detectives on the dog shit beat.
You got any more?
Yeah, I got a few. Hold on, let me see. I'll let you pick the next one. I've either got the Lord of the Rings thing, the Super Team thing, Billy Mitchell, or the climate conspiracy guy.
Let's do the Lord of the Rings. That one's hilarious too. I can't believe this guy.
I think there's been multiple articles since then because this may not be the counter article, which we can talk about. But Lord of the Rings fan. This is from the BBC. Lord of the Rings fan fiction writer sued for publishing his own sequel. A fan fiction writer has been sued by the estate of J.R.R. Tolkien for copyright after publishing his own sequel to The Lord of the Rings. U.S.-based author Demetrius Polychron published a book called The Fellowship of the King in 2022. He dubbed it...
Such a creative title.
He dubbed it, quote, the pitch-perfect sequel to The Lord of the Rings. The court ruled that Polychron must stop distributing copies of the book and destroy all physical and electronic copies.
Polychron?
Yeah. Frivolous lawsuit. In April 2023, Polychron attempted to sue the Tolkien estate and Amazon, claiming the TV series Rings of Power infringed the copyright in his book. I mean, don't get me wrong, Rings of Power sucks, but at the same time, like, how the hell do you think you have a copyright? The case, and also, yours is like, let's say he did have a copyright for just a second. That shit is like Rings of Power is supposed to be set previous to the Lord of the Rings. So either way, the case. I
want to read this guy's book and see how terrible it is.
And he would have been fine if he had put it up for free, because like that shit's, as long as you're not trying to profit, like fan fiction's fine. The case was dismissed after the judge ruled that Polychron's own book was infringing on Amazon's prequel that was released in September 2022. Wait. So did this only come to the attention of these people because he tried to sue first?
Yeah, he's an idiot, dude.
See, I thought originally, because I had looked into this, that he countersued, but he was selling this and getting away with, like, he should have left well enough alone.
Yeah.
The Tolkien estate then filed a separate lawsuit against Polychron for an injunction to stop the Fellowship of the King from being further distributed. On Thursday, Judge
Why aren't we getting his real name? His real name cannot be Polychron.
I very much doubt it. It's probably his pen name. On Thursday, Judge Stephen V. Wilson called Polychron's lawsuit frivolous and unreasonably filed and granted the permanent injunction preventing him from selling his book and any other planned sequels, of which there were 6.
Good Lord.
He wanted, well, I mean, technically the trilogy is actually 6 books, so
but still,
was that supposed to be the symmetry he was trying here?
They were probably giant turds, dude. Like,
probably, man, but I do kind of want to read one just to see. The court also awarded lawyers' fees totaling 134,000 or 106,000 euros to the Tolkien estate and Amazon. Yeah, Amazon doesn't need it, but the Tolkien estate, sure, why not? In connection with Polychron's lawsuit. The estate's UK solicitor, Stephen Mayer of Mayer Blackburn, said, "This is an important success for the Tolkien estate, which will not permit unauthorized authors and publishers to monetize J.R.R. Tolkien's much-loved works in this way." Which
I don't get why Amazon gets to sue, because they're essentially, even though they've paid, they're borrowing the license to make something.
True. I wish
the Tolkien estate should be the only ones to be able to sue. But you know what? Also, fuck the Tolkien estate for letting Rings of Power happen.
Yeah, it sucks.
Because Christopher,
I tried.
Christopher and JR are both rolling in their graves right now. Christopher was pissed over how the movies were treated, and how they treated the source material. So he would have hated this shit.
Yeah, and the movies were infinitely better than Rings of Power.
Yeah, even the Hobbit ones that are terrible.
Oh yeah, those are terrible too.
But like
it's just diminishing returns because the Lord of the Rings movies, like, they had their moments. They could have been way better.
yeah, they had a lot of really good moments.
Yeah, and some of the casting was really
And they
good.
were still one of those. It was still one of those situations. They were good. They were done well enough that if you never planned on it and never read the books and never planned on it, the movies are awesome to get the story.
Yeah.
The gist of the story and the characters or whatever. But like
But the Hobbit was...
and what's really kills me about this Rings of Power thing is, you remember we talked about this like way before it started, when it was just like rumors of it happening.
Yeah.
And just talks. The Tolkien estate was talking all this big game, how they weren't going to allow, they were going to have control, and they weren't going to allow anybody to screw up his legacy. And now they've just doo-dooed all over it, dude. Just, it's like kids with shit on their hands just walking around smearing it all over everything. Like,
yeah, it just keeps getting worse. And there's so many things you could have done. Like, there's things that he didn't, like, write. Like, don't get me wrong, he was very thorough with a lot of stuff, but there's things he didn't write every detail down to, where you've got a little wiggle room to play with. If you're gonna, like, if you were gonna do, like, he had the major points, but you could have easily done, like, the Goblin War with the dwarves when originally they...
There's enough source material that you don't have to be making up any kind of new shit.
You don't, but what I'm saying
add in, like, the detail of, like, you know, areas where he kind of, especially Silmarillion stuff, where it's, like, mythology kind of style, where it's like, there's a lot of parts that he just kind of tells you what happened, and there was not a whole lot of detail.
But then
you
there's
could fill in easily,
yeah,
and that's fine.
Yeah, and there's multiple versions of some of that stuff.
But but creating new material, it's like, wow, you've got plenty to work with.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. If you wanted something where you could kind of have a little bit of, like, it's got the main points. Like, if you did the Goblin War, you know, eventually Dane Ironfoot's got to kill Azog. You know, the dwarves have to beat them, but they don't reclaim Moria.
Well, according to the Hobbit movies, Azog was still alive.
I know, I hate
and
that.
all those, and they apparently skimmed over the books or just didn't pay attention to when they were reading, because those goblins were running around in broad daylight constantly.
Yeah, don't even get me started, dude. The dwarves not having not every dwarf having beards killed me. You know what I mean? The fact that Thorin's beard was like, you know,
I can't believe they left that Tolkien left out the shit in Radagast's hair.
Yeah.
Oh, and the part that he's in the Hobbit, and that he has a sled pulled by rabbits.
And that's the other thing too, man, is they made it so shitty, because, like, one of the things that could have been cool about that movie, because we do know that the reason Gandalf kept disappearing was he was trying to deal with the Necromancer in Mirkwood, but they just dropped, like, that stuff where you could have played around with it, and they did. But they fucked it up. Like, insane. I don't know. We'd be on this for, like, longer than that movie ran, so let's continue with this. This case, and sorry for people that aren't as deep into, like, Lord of the Rings lore as we are, for not giving a shit about, like, the last 2 minutes of what we were just talking about. But anyway, this case involved a serious infringement of the Lord of the Rings copyright undertaken on a commercial basis, and the estate hopes that the award of a permanent injunction and attorney's fees will be sufficient to dissuade others who may have similar intentions. Earlier this year, it was confirmed by Warner Brothers that more Lord of the Rings films are on the way over the next few years. Work on the second series of Amazon's TV show began in October. The BBC has tried to contact Demetrius Polychron for comment, and I guess he's declined because there isn't any.
So all right. Deter people from trying to profit off their fan fiction.
So here's the other thing, like, I wanted to bring up, because there's benefits. There's definitely benefits to, like, public domain, and then there's downsides. Like, I mean, think about this, for instance, like Hercules, Tarzan, Sherlock Holmes, pretty much any mythological character is all in the public domain, and they've been used pretty well, you know what I mean? Like, no one really has a copyright on Hercules or Thor. Like, Marvel has a copyright on their version of Thor. Like, DC could not take Thor and make it exactly the way Marvel did. But they do have their own version of Thor. He's appeared in the Sandman and things like that. He's just not used often. They both have their own version of Hercules. They both have their own versions of Zeus. I mean, DC tends to lead a little more toward the Greek gods, and even then they change things. Like Thor is blonde in Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
If in the mythology he's like copper, like his hair is sort of copper. It's reddish brown, more red and fiery. But I feel like it's really cool in a lot of ways, public domain stuff, because we've seen a lot of cool Tarzan stuff, and it doesn't really like tarnish the legacy of. Fuck, I can't even remember who wrote Tarzan originally.
Oh,
was it Burroughs?
No, it was.
It wasn't Burroughs.
Oh my god, it's right on the tip of my tongue.
But
Was it Jules Verne?
Go ahead and look that up so we can. But it doesn't really tarnish the legacy of like Tarzan. A lot of interesting things have been done with Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, you're right. It was Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Oh, cool. It was Burroughs. Sweet. But
for some reason, I was thinking it was Jules.
But like I said, it doesn't really tarnish the legacy of that stuff. But there are times where it's like you don't want to see certain things. It's to me like a case by case basis. I love seeing mythology and like. I love the fact that anybody can use Bigfoot. You know what I mean? I also even love the fact that because of the nature of Lovecraft's lore, I kind of like the fact that like Lovecraft stuff can be used in anything.
Yeah, and he promoted that.
Yeah.
Like while he was alive, like his friends.
Oh yeah.
His friend writers would like kind of write things and add it into the lore.
Oh yeah, and Robert E. Howard and him sort of like put bounce things back and forth. But I like that.
Yeah.
Because since his is supposed to be like so mysterious and weird, that fits. But and I even like the idea of eventually Conan being in the public domain, because a lot of people could do cool shit with Conan, and considering like Conan's supposed to be lost history, that's cool.
He's not in the public domain?
I don't think he's in public domain because Marvel over the last few years, like Marvel in the 70s had Conan stories. I don't know when they lost the publishing rights to Conan, but I know I never really read a lot of the old Marvel Conan comics. I didn't care. Like they're kind of old 70s ones were kind of cheesy to me. Some of them were pretty good because I have read a few, but I really loved when Dark Horse got a hold of it. Dark Horse did some awesome Conan comics. And then they did that for a while in the 2000s. Marvel recently got it back. And they did Conan comics for like, I want to say 2 to 4 years. And now someone else has Conan comics rights. And when Marvel got the rights back, I wasn't really reading their Conan comics except for Savage Avengers. And then
So now they no longer have the rights.
No, they don't have the rights anymore. And some weird company I've never heard of has it. And I'm reading those Conan comics, and they're fucking awesome. Love them. And I like that. I do like the idea of Conan being in the public domain at some point, because you could have several comic book companies doing stuff. You could have several novels. But the issue I've had is
you could have some cool independent film company
movies,
that makes a
cartoons,
really good movie.
Because a lot of mediums have been really cool with Conan. Besides books, because honestly, the only like books I've ever really liked from Conan, or not books, but stories, is Robert E. Howard's. I've read some other Conan novels. Novels, because most of his were short stories. I've read Conan novels, and they're not that fucking good. It's like nobody can really, at least with like written word, no one really ever captures the tone that Howard did. Like the comic books kind of can, even when they adapt his stories, or even when they do their own stories, you can sort of feel the spirit of Conan. But even the movies, man, like don't really feel like the first one's fun. Yeah. And the mirror scene in the second one is fun. And even the, what's his face? The Jason Momoa one was fun. None of them feel, though, like exactly like Conan.
Yeah, like I remember being a kid and watching the Schwarzenegger ones. Obviously, the problem with Conan the Destroyer was
it wasn't rated R.
It wasn't rated R. It wasn't the same director.
And it was watered down as hell.
Yeah, but I do remember that scene.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
Yeah, is really cool. Like that stuck in my mind.
No, yeah,
forever.
That's amazing, but there's just so.
And I liked Grace Jones's character.
Yeah. There's just so many things though that it's not great, but I do like I like the idea like that Winnie the Pooh. It could have been executed a lot better. Blood and Honey, like him coming into public domain. That shit's hilarious. I wish it had been done better because there was a lot of lost opportunity there. That movie could have been so much better than it actually was. The idea that Steamboat Willie is now in public domain.
Somebody's gonna do something.
They already are, dude. There's already been like 10 horror films announced based on Steamboat Willie. I'm not fucking with you. And like that's the thing is like one of them's probably going to be good and then 9 of them are going to be fucking hot garbage.
Oh, you know that movie exists I told you about with the Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Don't let it deter you if I find it.
All right.
Can't watch it on Amazon right now unless it's on that Freevee where it's got the commercials. So you know how Amazon Prime, you'll have like what is actually on Prime to free to watch, and then they have that one Freevee channel thing. It's like you can watch things with ads.
Yeah.
I don't like watching movies with ads.
I don't either, but I'll do it occasionally.
But that exists is only on that right now. But it's the director of Blair Witch.
Yeah.
Which I know you don't like the Blair Witch Project, but it's still watch it. I just wanted to give you that because I know you don't like Blair Witch.
Yeah.
But it's the same guy who made that. But this movie is actually, and it's done found footage kind of style, like handheld, but like it's cool. Still check it out.
I feel like that could be good.
If you can find it without commercials, just no interruptions.
You're gonna have to text me what it's called again later. But the Bigfoot, I do feel like a Bigfoot movie would lend itself to found footage just because of like the nature of Bigfoot in general and like the whole history.
Well, you know,
grainy footage.
Bobcat Goldthwait made that.
I still haven't watched that, man.
I can't even remember what that one's called now.
I haven't watched
that one. Was pretty good.
I bet it is. I loved World's Greatest Dad. That's my favorite Bobcat Goldthwait movie that I've ever seen.
That one is great too. But like, it's like I don't want to give anything away in it. But
have you seen? Okay, and this may go nowhere, and we'll get to your next article afterward. But have you seen Godzilla -1 yet?
I have not.
I haven't either. Me too.
You know they're releasing a black and white version pretty soon in the theaters.
Fuck, man. I don't know if I want to go see the one in... Dude, I tell you what made me want to see it, though. Like, I mean, I like Godzilla in general. I'm not as big of a Godzilla fan as you are by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm very into King Kong not for any like deep reasons other than...
He's a giant gorilla.
Yeah, other than Big Monkey. Other than Jake like Monkey. Like, that's about it. Like, that's seriously it. And I was, again, very mad that Godzilla vs. King Kong, the American version, didn't have Kong throw a big wad of shit in Godzilla's face.
Should have. I did like the big
they're cowards.
Thing he used like an axe, though.
Yeah.
That was cool. But you know how it was more of a King Kong movie?
Yeah.
Because there was not nearly as much Godzilla. I found out it's like something to do with their deal with Toho. They can only use
him for so long.
Yeah. And this next movie they're coming out with now... Even though I haven't seen -1, people are talking about this movie like it is like incredibly good. Like
I hope so.
And that who is it? What is the company that makes the American versions?
I don't know, but
they better knock it out of the park with this next one.
Because I hear everyone keeps saying -1's a masterpiece, and it looks good. And dude, I tell you, the reason the shot. And it's the shot I've seen on every, like for previews and in stills, it's where that Japanese fit, and this was made by, it's still Toho, I guess, that made this, but it's that shot where the fishing boat is, and just sailing, and you see Godzilla behind it. Just the way Godzilla looks in the water is fucking horrifying, because at one point he has his mouth open and could easily swallow the boat, but just the way he looks, like, it makes you afraid of Godzilla the way you're supposed to be afraid of Godzilla.
Yeah, I think it's cool they're releasing this black and white version. Like,
I want to see. I hope when that comes out, because I'm sure I'll buy a physical copy of this.
It'll have both versions.
I hope it has both versions.
It probably will. It'll probably be available.
But all right, what's your next article?
This is a more much lighter note than my last. Through Kotaku, speedrunning dog.
Yeah,
didn't set record at AGDQ 2024. Still a good boy. Peanut Butter, a.k.a. PB, is probably better at playing Gyromite on NES than you. So this dog, on January 16th, at the Awesome Games Done Quick, his owner and him played Gyromite together. You know how Rob the Robot would help you originally. The game was built for him. And this dog, like, he was enticed with treats and, like, telling him he's a good boy, but he helped him. They played through Gyromite and beat it.
Nice.
And, like, it's all on video, so if anybody wants to, they can go on YouTube or whatever and look up the Gyromite dog. Awesome games done quick. I just wanted to give PB a shout out because the video is awesome. Like, it's just cool seeing a dog, like, playing the video game with his owner. So that's it for that one. I just wanted to report on peanut butter here.
All right. Well, I know we're probably slowly running out of time here, but so I don't know if we'll get to all of these. Do you want to go with the Billy Mitchell story?
Give the Billy Mitchell.
Okay.
We'll roll into some video game stuff.
All right. The New York Times. A deal is struck in a long-running quarrel over Donkey Kong. Billy Mitchell, Billy Mitchell's records, or Billy Mitchell the asshole, I'm editorializing that, records will be listed in a, quote, historical database, but not the leaderboard, ending a dispute familiar from the 2007 documentary The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters. Great fucking documentary. I think we've talked about it multiple times.
Yeah, and I just think it's hilarious that it was originally intended to be about him and follow him around, but then Steve Wiebe was like, just way better. Like, they just decided to go with him because they realized that Billy Mitchell was a complete dick.
Yeah, a huge asshole. All right, back in the 1980s, it seemed as if everyone with a spare quarter was playing the arcade game Donkey Kong, scooting up ramps and climbing ladders while avoiding barrels hurled by a giant ape. For most players, the video game provided a few minutes of excitement before inevitable defeat, but a handful of top players had the superhuman ability to rescue Pauline, the damsel in distress, over and over again, earning one of the high scores not just in their own decade, but in the whole world. Now a settlement has been reached in a long-running disagreement over the disputed world record set by the arcade gamer Billy Mitchell. While the arcade boom of the 1980s faded, some gamers pressed on in their pursuit of high scores, often playing on their own machines in basements and garages long after most gamers had moved on to personal computers and home consoles. Which, I guess we should say, I'm pretty sure the records only count if you're playing on, like, a cabinet.
Yes, authentic, original hardware.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to say this is, yeah, I'll give him his credit where it's due when he set the records when he was like
the original
a teenager.
record, yeah.
And like, and his original Pac-Man record, and I think he had some records and some other stuff. I don't know, but he's a cheater, like through and through. They found multiple times he was using a MAME emulator at one point. Then there's a picture during all this freaking lawsuit, and like the guy who was calling him out on this, Carl Jobs, he's a YouTuber, and he finds all these people doing like illegal shit or cheaters or cheating speedrunners. All kinds of stuff. That's what he does on YouTube. Yeah. And he investigates. I mean, he does a good job. He's the one that called him out. And he tried to sue Carl Jobs just so he would be broke and couldn't, like, he multiple times trying to sue him. So he would be broke and not be able to bother him anymore. And he incriminated himself. There's a picture of him a while back standing when he was supposedly set some record.
Yeah.
Standing next to a Donkey Kong machine, and the joystick.
Yeah, I saw it.
Is like an 8-way joystick. It's been replaced. It wasn't original hardware. And like, the dude's an idiot.
Oh, for sure. But all right, to continue the art, because it's pretty good. But people not immersed in that world first had a chance to hear about Mr. Mitchell in the critically acclaimed 2007 documentary, the aforementioned, what we just said.
King of Kong.
King of Kong, Fistful of Quarters. It told the story of Steve Wiebe and his quest to be recognized as the first person to reach 1 million points in the game, beating a record set by Mr. Mitchell years earlier. Mr. Mitchell wore the black hat in that film, which portrayed him, the New York Times review said, as, quote, a pretentious, manipulative swine, end quote. That's pretty good. The New York Times are right about that, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a great description.
He successfully challenged Mr. Wiebe's high score and set a new one himself, but that achievement remained under a cloud in the film. The tussle over records did not end there, and Mr. Mitchell eventually claimed even higher scores from 2007 to 2010. But Twin Galaxies, which tracks and records video game achievements, invalidated Mr. Mitchell's scores in 2018 after an investigation. So if you don't remember, there's a point in the film, and not to give it away, and there's more to the film than this because it goes on, where he shows a video which
and it's not supposed to be allowed.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be allowed. It's against their rules. He shows a video of him beating his previous high score, which also beats Steve Weeby's score.
Yeah, and it's on VHS.
And also the VHS like clips. Yeah, like it's edited.
Yeah, and they allowed it. That's when they were still when Twin Galaxies was still up his ass about everything. Like, yeah, he could do whatever he wanted.
It was ridiculous. But the movie goes on, and it has a happier ending.
Yeah, and he was one, and then some other guy ended up beating Weeby's record. But but like, it was like that other. I can't remember that other guy who's like apparently like fabricated and lied about all kinds of his own records. Oh yeah, the guy with the ponytail and the mustache. I can't remember that guy's name. He was in that too because he was one of those young. They're all like around the same time. There's like pictures of them as teenagers when they were all like beating records as kids. Oh, yeah. And apparently that guy's been a fraud the entire time, pretty much.
Well, what was crazy about Weeby in that movie is that didn't he pretty much have to beat the... It's been a while since I've seen it, but didn't he pretty much have to beat the record like 3 fucking times?
Yeah, because they kept screwing him.
Yeah, and he kept doing it.
Because he wasn't in that little group.
Yeah.
It was like this weird, like... This weird clique of, like...
Nerds.
A bunch of weirdo, like, nerds. Like
and I'm a nerd.
That just worshipped Billy Mitchell for some reason.
Yeah, because he had people on like cell phones calling him, Billy, he's about to, and they sounded exactly like that. Yeah, Billy, he's about to beat the record. Do you want me to?
Do you want me to unplug the machine?
Yeah, do you want me to unplug the machine? Do you need? You want me to? I can suck your dick. Under the group,
I can fluff you before you try to break the record this next time, if you like.
Do you need, Billy? Do you need me to tongue punch your fart box so you can be relaxed and set a new record? Billy, I know you play on 70s arcade machines, but like I could do some really good. I could do some pinball action with my tongue, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I could put I could set up some kind of installment where the joystick's in my asshole and the buttons are on my nips and.
Hey, Billy, every time you jump over a barrel, I could use some electronic, like, teledildonic device in my butthole. Anyway, under the group's rules, record setters must play their games using an original circuit board from a Donkey Kong machine. The investigation by Twin Galaxies found that 2 of Mr. Mitchell's record-setting scores had used a modified machine. Mr. Mitchell vowed at the time that the fight was not over and filed a defamation suit. That suit was finally settled last week. Here's a quote from Billy Mitchell. I am relieved. Hold on, how do I make him sound like an asshole? Like, I can't even do his voice.
Yeah.
So, hold on. I am relieved and satisfied to reach this resolution. That's not what he sounds like, but he's a dick. After an almost 6-year ordeal and look forward to pursuing my unfinished business elsewhere. Eeyore, as Billy Mitchell said. No, but end quote from Mr. Mitchell said on social media. He referred to his records as having been, quote, reinstated. They weren't, by the way. We'll get into that, I believe. Even so, Twin Galaxy said that Mr. Mitchell's scores would not be added back to the main leaderboard that tracks ongoing records, and that he was still banned from Twin Galaxy's competition. Rather, it said they would be posted on a, quote, historical database, end quote. It also said it would, quote, remove from online display, end quote, a thread on the site discussing the dispute and, quote, all related statements and articles, end quote. And I'm being very specific with the quotes here because I want people to know that it's not a fucking victory. It wasn't reinstated. It's just on a historical database.
His ass kicked in these lawsuits. It's like, and how dumb he's been looking. Like he's taking it as a victory.
Twin Galaxy says this historical database is, quote, copied verbatim from the system obtained during Twin Galaxy's acquisition in 2014. It serves as an unmodified legacy snapshot, preserving performances and achievements predating the current TG ownership and modern adjudication protocols, end quote. It said the historic database, quote, remains static and sealed. No submissions or alterations can be made, end quote. David Tashrodian, a lawyer for Twin Galaxies, told the technology news site Ars Technica There were going to be an inordinate amount of costs involved, and both parties were facing a lot of uncertainty at trial, and they wanted to get the matter settled on their own terms without putting it to a jury. A jury that probably would have kicked Mr. Mitchell's ass, I believe.
Yeah.
Mr. Mitchell's restored scores include some in the 1,040,000 to 1,060,000 range, but time moves on and players get better. The vigorous, long-running, and sometimes bitter dispute was over marks that have long since been surpassed. The current record, as reported by Twin Galaxies, belongs to Robbie Lakeman. And that record is 1,272,800. And that's the end of that article. And if you didn't take away anything from that, what you should take away is Billy Mitchell is an asshole.
Indeed. Oh man, where'd my article go? Well, that was actually reported. This was reported to me by Biz.
Yeah.
And not a news article, but apparently Nintendo.
Oh man.
Is
the love-hate relationship.
Teaming with Lego, and they're going to be doing a Legend of Zelda Lego set.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so
I thought this was going to be some terrible fucking Nintendo story like, you know, that you usually hear where a guy remade a Nintendo game not for profit and Nintendo sued him into oblivion.
Oh yeah, like the worst one is the one that guy called it what was it, another Metroid 2 remake?
Oh.
It was great. That game, oh, it was so well done, dude. He like made it like it was really similar to like in play style and look as Super Metroid, but it was Metroid 2 from Game Boy remade. They did that to him. He was not trying to profit from it.
Yeah.
It was just fan-made game. And then they brought out that really crappy remake of Metroid 2.
Yeah, dude.
It's nowhere near as good as his version.
I just
it
get
looks
tired.
like crap.
I wish Nintendo would stop with that shit because like people are willing to rebuy those old games, and they never make them available on anything like Steam. They don't put all of the games you want even on like Switch Online stuff. You know what I mean? Like here's a bunch of Super Nintendo games, but not the ones you want. And, you know,
Yeah.
and just like people have to, like, if they want to play them to preserve play, they have to download emulators, but Nintendo can't tolerate that shit. And then, dude, there's a guy, I keep seeing videos of it that has made like Ocarina of Time with the Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
And it looks amazing. And you'll never get to play it because Nintendo will fucking obliterate that man.
Yeah.
That like
Sure.
Nintendo would sue that man for an amount of money where they could build a bleeding edge rocket and shoot him into the fucking sun.
Yeah, pretty much. But this is pretty cool because it's actually a leak. And people are excited about it because supposedly releasing in September of this year, it'll be 2,500 pieces and supposedly features a great Deku tree. So that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, Biz was originally telling me about that, so I just wanted to look into it and see what I could find about it. Now I'm going to go back to my...
I wonder what you're going to be building on the thing. Like, if it's going to be the Great Deku Tree, I guess, Kokiri Village or the Lost Woods or something?
Yeah, probably. Oh, there was some cool news, too. Like, I was really surprised in this. Like, those who don't know, Tekken 8 releases on January 26th. And...
oh, cool. I could actually get that. I got a PlayStation now.
And it was just an article about the size. It's only going to take up, it's like around 100 on PC. It's only going to take up 80 gigabytes, which that is a lot. But I mean,
Not really,
from the way
though.
the game looks, how nice it looks, and everything, it's like MK1, I think, was over 100.
Huh.
And it's like, I think Tekken 8 looks way better than Mortal Kombat 1. But, so it's not going to take up nearly as much room on your system. You might still have to clear some if you got some big ass games on there.
Yeah.
Which I
Can you
don't
get
know
it-
if I do right now. I've got like Baldur's Gate 3 on there and like big games. That's the only really big game I can think of right now that I have on my PS5. You know, one thing that really pisses me off about the PS5? It is not compatible, at least right now, with any external hard drive.
Is it not? See, because I was about to ask about that because I'm
Yeah.
eventually going to probably...
Because I transferred all my PS4 stuff over my account and everything, which was really easy and all your saves and stuff, especially, but all my PS4 stuff pretty much
Yeah.
was on that, my external hard drive I used on my PS4.
Yeah.
You could still use it to hold all your PS4 stuff, but anything PS5 you have to save on the system memory. And so I was like, what the hell? And so I was looking into it. Maybe I could get a newer, because I've had my external hard drive for a while, and I don't know how much longer it's going to last. But, just depends. But, yeah, there's nothing compatible right now.
I will say what's kind of nice is because I know eventually I'm going to have to get a external hard drive for my PC, because I've already had to. I mean, I beat the games, but I've already had to take Cyberpunk off, uninstall Cyberpunk, and uninstall.
That game's probably big.
Oh, it's huge. And I had to uninstall Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Did they fix that game?
What?
On PS5?
Which one?
Or, I mean, on your PC. Like, did they fix the PC was not as bad.
What, for Cyberpunk?
Cyberpunk.
Dude, it's had eras. Like, I wasn't interested in the DLC. The DLC kind of seems like, to me, that it takes away from the main story by existing. And I had a real satisfactory end. Like, I felt really good emotionally after, beating that game. So I'm not doing the DLC. I'll wait for a sequel. It wasn't bad by the time I got to it. But it's had ups and downs. Like, it had, like, a lot of glitches, I guess, at first. By the time I got to it, which was probably 6 months to a year later, it was pretty good. And then when the anime came out and added a bunch of other shit, it had a whole new set of glitches.
Right.
And that's when my son got into it, and he still had a great time with it. But
yeah, a couple of their fixes I heard did add more different glitches.
Yeah.
But I mean, that happens.
Well, it was mostly the additions, not,
Yeah.
But,
well, this right here is saying, this article right here is 10 best external hard drives for PS5. But, like, from what I was reading, like, you can't use them. Like, and there's another one before this that was the 5 best SSDs for the PS5 can double your storage. But that was something you would have to replace internally, right?
I would think, but see, that's kind of what I've liked about, that's kind of what I like about the Switch, is the Switch doesn't have a lot of space, but I can get those SSD cards and I can use those to keep my saves. Because I already have one that I haven't filled up for the Switch.
Because solid states, though, I mean, that's in the end. You'd have to replace. You have to put it in.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There's a little card, or it's an SD card. It's not an SSD.
Yeah.
But you can put it in the. You put it in the Switch.
Yeah, I've got one for the Switch.
And I haven't I've filled up my Switch, but I haven't filled up that card yet. And I can only imagine. And I have a shitload of Switch games, dude. I can only imagine that I might ever require one more card for that. Maybe. But all right, so what are we on now?
You still looking at gaming stuff?
I've either got, if we've got time, I've either got the climate conspiracy guy with the wildfires and arson, or I've got the 10 best super teams list that we could debate and argue over, because it's probably not going to be a top 10 that we agree with.
Well, let's save the top 10.
Right.
Let's cover the.
We can honestly, man, if you want, we can save the climate conspiracy guy too if you wanted. It's not a big deal. It's funny, but it's not. Like,
let's talk about it. I want to hear about this guy, because this is the shit. It just pisses me off too, because these people.
They don't go into too terribly much about it. This is actually from CNN, and yeah, I know, gross, but a climate conspiracy theorist said the government deliberately lit wildfires. He just pleaded guilty to starting 14 himself. So, a Canadian man who posted conspiracy theories on social media claiming the government was deliberately starting wildfires has pleaded guilty to starting 14 blazes that forced hundreds of people from their homes. Brian Parr, appearing in a Quebec court Monday, admitted to 13 counts of arson and 1 count of arson with a disregard for human life, relating to events between May and September last year. Prosecutor Marie-Philippe Caron said one of the fires, Parr set forced the evacuation of around 400 people in the town of Chapay, Quebec. The largest fire that he admitted to starting destroyed more than 817 hectares, which is a ton.
Yeah, couldn't he be charged with like
Eco-terrorism?
Yeah, eco-terrorism, also, and like
think.
protected species, like destroying protected
several
species
crimes.
of animals.
Several crimes, dude. Mr. Parr does not remember all of the fires he could have started, so we
Start so many fires, I can't even. I don't even.
So we have currently 14 fires. We have 14 counts. So he wasn't charged with a lot. Karin told CNN, "It's possible there are more, but we do not have evidence of that," she added. Karin said police and first responders grew suspicious when a number of fires happened over a short period of time without a discernible cause. Police officers became interested in Parr after he was spotted in the areas of several fires. They also found multiple social media posts by Parr accusing the Canadian government of purposefully igniting fires to persuade people to believe in climate change. According to police evidence, the accused posted a lot of conspiracy theories about the fires and the government's involvement in possibly setting those fires, Karin said. See, here's the thing I want to know. I kind of want to read the guy's theories because I'm wondering if he's claiming to be an agent of the government. You know what I mean? Like that's what it seemed like. He admitted to starting 14 fires. Is he trying to do that to bolster his own claims? But anyway.
I don't know. Like, it's just crazy to me. Like,
after
this dude is like insane.
They do it. You know how I know? Because I started 14 of those fires.
Yeah, they paid me.
Yeah. After getting permission to attach a tracking device to his vehicle, police were able to trace it to the location of other fires. He admitted to starting some of the fires when he was arrested in September. Canada's 2023 wildfire season was record-shattering, scorching around 18.4 million hectares or 45.5 million acres. An area roughly the size of North Dakota, and more than double the previous record. Well, and that's the thing too. That's really sad because Canada has like a ton of uncharted wilderness. Like it has a ton of forest. There are probably several species of animals we haven't even discovered. Like we talk about South America, Africa all the time, but Canada has a ton of forest, and again, large swaths of it are uncharted. Smoke from the fires poured southward, choking cities in the United States and even making it as far as Europe, or as far as East Europe. Wildfires have long been a focus for conspiracy theorists, with claims that they are started by governments, climate activists, or even by climate activists, or even by laser beams from space. It's probably like the whole, the government shooting lasers from satellites to make you believe that the climate's changing.
Oh my God.
Canada's unprecedented fires triggered a wave of disinformation, according to a 2023 report by the Global Coalition Climate Action Against Disinformation. This included false claims the wildfires were set intentionally to scare people into supporting climate action. High-profile figures helped fuel these conspiracy theories in June. Hold on. We're going to skip past a lot of this. Widespread. Okay, so we'll skip several. If you want to read the whole article, go to CNN. But widespread drought combined with the devastating lightning line are responsible for this historic season, Quebec's fire agency spokesperson said. A recent analysis by scientists from the World Weather Attribution Initiative, which calculates the role of climate change in extreme weather events, found that climate change made the hot, dry, and windy weather that drove last year's fires in Quebec at least twice as likely and up to 50% more intense. But we'll skip down to the end. Parr remains in custody. A pre-sentencing report was requested by his defense lawyer, and it is expected to be released in April. Man, I tell you, the thing I get tired of with the whole climate change thing is what it's done, because they've politicized it so much, is it's basically made people not give a shit about pollution. And regardless of what you believe about climate change, pollution is bad. And if we were to cut down on a lot of that pollution, it would cut down on climate change. But because, again, and I'm sure it's probably it's probably coming down from the corporations, because what was it? It's 12 corporations are responsible for 80%.
Even that much?
something like that. Yeah, something
like
to 8 to like somewhere between like 4 to 12 corporations are responsible for like 80% of the emissions, if not a higher amount. So like even if the common person lived perfectly, did everything they said, we wouldn't be able to reduce it enough for it to matter. But again, it's been politicized so much that nothing happens. And I feel like the reason it's politicized is probably because of these corporations like spreading disinformation and, basically using a counter narrative campaign. But the common person, like if you stop framing it as climate change and just talk about the pollution and like shit, you can literally like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be able to chew air. You know what I mean? Like people would understand that. Like even the hardest climate denier knows that bad things are happening in the forest. There's being shit in forest in rural areas, that things are being dumped into our water, because these same people will complain about fluoride in the fucking water, but maybe they should complain about chemicals that get dumped in the fucking water. You know what I mean? Like it's all about climate change now and never about like pollution and what we're doing to the environment.
Yeah.
And that's become like a dog whistle for people to not just get, like the people that deny climate change happens, to just not give a shit about the environment in general. And that's been my biggest issue with it, because now instead, like now they're just like everything.
Most people really didn't already in the first place, and now it's just made it worse.
It has. But that's what I'm saying is like, you could have like, now when you point out anything about that's going wrong with the environment, they take it like it's a huge political, like oh, you must be blah blah blah, this, that, or the other. It's like, dude, no. I just think the fact that species are disappearing at an alarming rate, are going extinct at an alarming rate, is probably a fucking problem for everyone. You know what I mean? It's like, don't get me wrong, like
I know trash mountain in the Pacific Ocean.
I know climate change
probably.
That's what I'm saying. I know climate change is happening, but what I'm saying is, if we address the pollution problem, you address the climate change problem.
Like a couple of years ago, I saw where that 19-year-old kid had designed this thing that could move around in the ocean.
Yeah.
And collect trash.
Oh, it could eat I saw a thing where 2 people had designed something that could eat the plastic in the ocean.
Oh, where's that at?
That's what I'm saying. There's a few things, man. There's been a few things that would clean, that have been designed that I've heard about, that would clean like the ocean and freshwater play, and we don't invest in that. And like that's the thing, we're always fighting like these stupid abstract war on terror or war on drugs, and all it's designed to do is make dickheads rich and not do anything but fuck over poor people. But we never fight an abstract war that would matter. Like, hey, like a war on fucking. A war on pollution or whatever.
There's more things made out of plastic than ever.
Yeah, and if we could clean that shit, and that's a whole, like, economically, you'd think people could get behind it, because that's a whole new industry. You have to make that stuff to fight that stuff. That's more jobs, more things happening, and it makes the world better because we're getting rid of fucking pollution, There are there are new technologies and like new, like quote unquote green, solutions to things that would be a whole new industry. But no one wants to, let's not invest in that. Like, and that's the other thing too. There are other ways without like, everybody wants to bitch about like, oh, they want me to stop eating this or eating that. It's like, there's ways to actually maintain certain type, like, there's regenerative farming, there's vertical farming, you know what I mean? There's ways to make the supply of vegetables and meat sustainable without like destroying large tracts of land. People have figured it out, but we don't invest in that shit.
No, because they don't give a shit. Most of the people making the money don't give a shit about anybody's future.
Oh man, but yeah, let's end on a downer note.
Yeah. So that's episode 9.
Come back for 10. It's not all going to be doom and gloom.
Right. Anybody that wants to suggest topics or comment on anything or whatever, we do have the Horse Lick Review at gmail.com. You can email us.
Yeah, even if you think we're just pieces of shit dumbasses, that's fine.
You can say that too.
We might even read it.
Out loud on the show.
And cry about it. Yeah, but not really.
Yeah. All right. Till next time.
Bye.